Shadows stretch and start to crawl. Moonlight whispers down the hall. A cauldron bubbles, it's calling me to craft some chills for all to see.
So hello and welcome back to my day 6 of the 13 Days of Halloween collaboration with Lula from Nerd Goblin Art. So as you've seen today, we're going to be making these witch decorations for Halloween. Now my original plan for them really didn't work out. They looked like, well, I thought they'd looked like a 4-year-old had done them until I demolded them and turned them round, and they didn't actually look that bad. But by then I'd already changed my mind about what I wanted to do with them. So as you've just seen, I've mixed up my resin, I've popped it in the debubbler, and now I'm just filling these witches about halfway up. I just wanted to give them a clear base so that I could use my acrylic paint markers on them. Well, that was the initial idea anyway. So I'm just slowly pouring the resin into these pieces and then just giving them a bit of a wiggle about and a bit of a shift just to make sure that there's only a thin layer in the whole mould. These moulds are quite shallow anyway, and I literally only wanted 1, maybe 2 millimeters deep of resin. So I'm just encouraging it out to all the edges with my mixing stick. There was a couple of bits that were quite difficult, particularly the bits where they've got hair, but yeah, it took a while. But I managed to do it, and then I left it to cure. So like I said, my original idea was to colour them with acrylic markers. These acrylic markers go on resin like a dream. But unfortunately, when it comes to colouring and drawing, I'm just no good. Now this one slightly bothered me. I thought she looked a bit, what's the word? Pornographic, I think. Seductive? Even slutty. Yeah, I didn't think it was quite appropriate, but we went for it anyway. I mean, I even asked my 18-year-old what she thought, and she said exactly the same thing. So after grabbing various colours markers, I thought, right, we'll start with the brooms. Again, like I said, I'm not very good at things like this, and I thought by the time I'd finished it, it looked like my 16-month had been at it with a load of colour markers. I mean, I've been at it less than 2 seconds and I've already made a mistake. So I'm just getting a bit of a cotton wool bud and cleaning it off the resin. And that's the beauty of using these pens on resin. If you do make a mistake, it's easy enough to rub it out and start again. So again, I will speed this up for you because this did take a while. I wanted to try and give this the look of a broom. So I did use various different coloured browns rather than just one tone. But yeah, there's nothing else to say other than this type of art just isn't my thing.
Spinning reasons, grinning Tony's tricks for Halloween glory.
So when it come to colouring this one, I had to give her the knee-high boots. There was just no other option for it. So after I'd finished colouring in all the brooms and the bits that I wanted, I decided to use some neon Let's resin powder with some UV resin just to fill the dresses in. And then I went in with a clear coat of UV just to seal the pens in. So now it was time to demould. And you know what? I was quite surprised they didn't turn out as bad as I thought they were going to. I mean, little Miss Provocative here still looks as provocative as ever, but yeah, I was kind of liking them. But because I'd completely changed my mind about what I wanted to do with them, I wasn't even sure I was going to use this footage. So I decided to use them and make 2 sets. See, they really don't look as bad as what I initially thought. But I know I'm not very good at drawing faces, so I didn't even attempt that. So for the next lot, I wanted to do something completely different. So I'm using some black fast cast polyurethane just for ease. I mean, this stuff is absolutely brilliant. I will leave this in real time. So for those of you who haven't seen polyurethane can see exactly how quick and how little time really you've got to work with it. So after pouring 40 grams of part A in, and then 40 grams of part B. And you can see here the colour on the bottle and the colour how it comes out. It's like a yellowy colour. Yeah, it's quite strange. And then I go to mixing. Like I said, this is real-time mixing. You literally have about 30 seconds before it starts to go warm in your hand and starts to cure. So one tip for polyurethane, have some spare moulds handy and be prepared. That's the one thing with this, is you have to be prepared. So because this is going warm in my hand, it needs to go into the moulds. So I'm just pouring it exactly like I would do resin, and it's quite a thin viscosity, so it goes into these moulds lovely. So it runs into all the little edges and grooves. But you really do need to be quick when pouring. So after pouring all the polyurethane into all the areas of these moulds, and I did fill them up to the top, it literally left them 17-18 minutes and they were fully cured. You can see there is a slight bend to them, but yeah, they were good enough to do what you need to do with them. So you need to lay them flat, exactly like resin, so that they don't cure in a funny shape. Because even though they are cured, a lot like resin, it takes another 24 hours to fully cure properly. So these were going to be hanging Halloween decorations. So I couldn't just leave them like this, so now it was time to bling them up a bit. This one here is my favourite, I think. I think I liked the fact that she's got the nice little boots on and her hair's all curly, flying in the wind. So in order to jazz them up and put the hanging bits onto it, I thought, right, I want to try and use the cricket in some way, because I was doing yesterday's project. The hat that I'd printed off just didn't fit. So next plan, I was going round the edges of all these pieces with this silver chrome marker. Now to do this, you pop your pen right on the edge of the piece and go right the way around the edges, half on, half off. So you've got a silver line on both sides of the piece, or both edges should I say. And again, if you make a mistake, it's easy enough to rub off and start again. So because this took a while, I am going to speed it up for you, but I just continue to do exactly the same on all three pieces. Now in the meantime, I'm umming and ahhing whether to turn these into suncatchers, whether to use them as decorations, or whether to turn them into little wind chimes. So the next stage of this was putting these all together. Now I want to try and make them into little wind chimes. So we're going to do one with some little stones and gems. I've already put together one of them. So yeah, we're going to hang that off there, and then we're going to attach them all together. And then the other one's going to be wind chimes. So I've got these little packs of wind chimes off Amazon. And we've also got some strong and stretchy 0.2 gauge. It's like thin clear wire. I mean, you can barely see it, but it's great for suspending stuff in resin, because I want to attach these together without you actually seeing that they're attached. And then I want to add these little diamantes that I had from Temu, and this comes with all little diamantes and everything to do a sun catcher with. I've got a couple of sets like this actually. But inside it's got all your jump rings and your chain in order to attach all these pieces together. And that's where the fiddly, tricky bit comes into it. So what I wanted to do with this was attach 4 or 5 of these little diamante pieces in a row, add in some chain in between and the jump rings to every one of them. Now this whole process took roughly over an hour. So I'm not going to show you the whole bit, but yeah, I'm literally just attaching jump rings onto the ends of these little diamante pieces, and then attaching chain in between, just to make like the dream catcher bits that I showed you before on the witch. Now I have got a little ring to open up these jump rings, but there was that many of them that needed doing, it just would have been a nightmare. So yeah, I'm using my needle nose pliers and a pair of normal pliers just to twist these jump rings apart. Yeah, never pull, never bend. twist apart and then twist together again. I also like to drop a little bit of UV resin onto the little gap in the jump rings, just so that I know as an extra safety precaution that they are not going to come off. There is one thing I will say about this project, and that is, if you don't like fiddly, messy bits, this one really isn't for you, because they kept slipping out my hand, they kept falling off the jump rings. Yeah, it took my patience to the limit and back. But again, any of you who are regulars to my channel will know that I'm always up for a challenge, and I don't give up that easily, no matter how frustrated I get. So I've put all these pieces together. Now I've done 3 sets so that I can pop them along the bottom of this switch. So this is one of them. And here are the other 2 pieces that are now ready to go on to the bottoms of this switch. Now I know they're all shiny and sparkly and the witches are black polyurethane, but I think it just gives that little extra pizzazz, I think, to Halloween. So now it's time to attach them onto the bottom of the switch. So I'm going to be drilling holes in the broom and inner arm so that I can attach these pieces with the little hook that I've also attached to the end of these pieces. So for this I'm using my little mini drill. Now this thing is fantastic because it comes as an engraving part, it comes with stencils, it comes with about 25 different bits for drilling and screwing and, like I say, engraving. And it really wasn't that expensive. It was quite a cheap one off Amazon, less than £20 I'm sure, and it's lasted me a good 2.5–3 years. And it's on its way out now, but it's done its job. But I am just literally drilling holes into the tops of these hats and into their feet so that I can attach them all together with this clear string. Now you do need to be careful when drilling through pieces of either resin or polyurethane, because potentially it could go all the way through the back and through my levelling board, and I don't want that. So I was just carefully drilling through it, and when I got to a certain part I lifted it and just drilled through the back. So now it was time to attach them, and like I said, I'm going to attach them just by tying knots through the little holes I've made with this clear string. Now again, really fiddly. You can barely see the string, let alone with my fingers be messing with the knots. So this did take a while, and you can see why. I mean, I'm even struggling to get the string through the hole in the first place. So I'm tying 3 knots in total to attach this string to these pieces, and I do this on all of them, attaching them together as I go. Now it's time to finish the last one. So these are all attached by the hats and their feet, and now I want to attach the diamantes to them. So for this I'm going to drill 3 holes across the bottom of this seductive witch. So I'm drilling 1 in the middle and then 1 either side in the thickest parts of the piece where I want the holes. Now when drilling into resin and polyurethane, by rights I should have popped tape to stop it from splitting, but it's only a small hole and this drill isn't really powerful. So after drilling the 3 holes where I want them, it was now time to attach the bits. So all I'm doing for this is literally attaching the little hooks that come in this pack and then feeding the hooks through the holes that I've made. Probably the simplest part of the whole project. And yet it still took me ages to do. But I'm definitely going to hang these up in my house for Halloween. I think they look really cool. And here they are, the finished products. Now I think they look really cool. I did realise that the bottom one was slightly tilted, so I do need to add a 4th one on just to balance it out a bit. So let me know in the comments what you think and whether you would have this as a decoration in your house for Halloween. So now it's time to do the second one. So like I say, this one was going to be the Suncatcher, and now we're going to do the wind chime. So for this one I just drilled a few holes, I think it was 5 holes into the bottom of this piece. Exactly like I did with the last one. Only this one is resin and the last one was polyurethane. So because you've seen a lot of the process, I have sped this bit up. The only trouble I had with the holes here was I did actually drill too far forward on the arm, so I had to end up drilling a second hole. So after all the holes were drilled, it was time to feed on the wind chime parts. So for this, I just used the same 2-gauge string that I used on the last one, and I fed it through the wind chimes and then tied it onto the holes on this piece. And again, this was really fiddly, so I didn't film it all. I just filmed a couple of them for you. So I'm just literally tying these on into all the little holes. Again, I forgot about the fact that this particular mould is slightly off. But yeah, I was really happy with the outcome and glad that I used them both. Let me know what you think in the comments. So I will leave you with some music and some glamour shots while I finish this off. I've been Tony from Georgiesgorgeousgifts in collaboration with Lula from Nerd Goblin Art with day 6 of the Halloween 13-day Halloween special. So stay safe, happy crafting, and bye for now.
Shadows stretch and start to crawl. Moonlight whispers down the hall. A cauldron bubbles, it's calling me to craft some chills for